This is a tutorial for Cervis Technologies. It helps to track volunteer hours. Start by navigating to Cervis Technologies on the internet and entering your login information. Cervis has 4 volunteer tabs, but they include volunteer management, event management, attribute management, and system management. Underneath each category, there are subcategories. We will start by looking at the first feature, which is adding a new volunteer. So click on Add a New Volunteer, and this page will appear. To add a new volunteer, there are 4 required pieces of information: the volunteer's last name, the volunteer's first name, the volunteer's primary phone number, and then you also need to fill in the volunteer's gender. Start by entering name and phone number, and then the last required piece of information is the volunteer's gender. So once all this is entered, click Submit Volunteer Information. And down here, it gives you a little message that says that your volunteer has been successfully added. So now to see if we can find the volunteer, we can go to our next feature, which is Search and Manage the Volunteer Database. And up here in the search bar, I can click and search for the last name, and the volunteer that we just created comes up here in the database. There are several more features that are included in the volunteer management dashboard. Under the volunteer first or last name, you can also search the volunteer database by entering their email address. You can also add a new volunteer, which we just went over. It's the same process. We can perform an advanced search. So there are several options under the advanced search that include account status options, volunteer group options, interest category options, and they can all be used to perform an advanced search. So for example, if we'd like to find a volunteer who is between the age of, say, 20 and 30 years old, we can enter those values, and then we can search the volunteer database. So this just pulled up all the volunteers in the database that are between 20 and 30 years old. The next option that's located under the advanced option is to find all active volunteer profiles. We can also find all the duplicate volunteer files, as well as finding volunteers with file attachments and photo attachments. You can simply search for these volunteers by clicking right on this circle right here. The administrator also has the ability to send emails, send address labels, create name tags, create a PDF or a spreadsheet file, as well as bulk update and bulk register any volunteers. The way this is done is click this square all the way to the left here, and then choose any of the features at the top. So we can click a couple of volunteers, and then we can choose to send an email, for example. This is the place where we can send a bulk email to all the people that are listed. Simply fill out the information here, and then click Send an Email. You can also attach files if you wish. The next feature under the Volunteer Management tab is View and Manage Volunteer Follow-ups. So under the follow-up volunteer management feature, we can look up names right here, and then we can create a follow-up description, and then click Assign Follow-up. Below this, we have the follow-up assignment listing, which is all the follow-ups that were requested by the volunteers. In the first category, we have the follow-up with the person. Next, it's the date that it was assigned on, and then who the follow-up is assigned to. There's also a description that is included right here. The final feature under the Volunteer Management tab is Report Management. Simply click on the link and you will see all 10 options for creating a report. The first report is the Group Participation Report. Under here, we need to specify any details that are required. So we will pick the Boy Scout Troop 103. The detail also needs to be specified as high, medium, low, or roster. So for this example, we'll choose high. We would also like to show all active volunteers. So now we're going to click on Run the Report. A document will appear, and we'd like to open it. This is an example of one of the reports that would be produced by the program. This document contains the volunteer, where they volunteered, the date, and the total number of hours. The other reports are very similar to the group participation report, in which there are details that need to be specified. The other reports include the interest category participation report, volunteer participation report, event and project participation report, and a few others. Remember, to run the report, just click the details that need to be specified and then run the report. The next tab is called Event and Project Management. The first feature under this tab is adding a new event. So click on the link and we will add a new event. The first thing that needs to be specified is the event type. There are 4 event types. The first is normal, then time slot, then custom, and service project. For this example, we'll do a normal event. So select the normal event and click event name. For the event name, we will call it restore. Under the event description, provide a little description of what the event entails. Down here, we're going to specify the event start date and time and the event end date and time. So click on the little calendar icon and we can say that this event is today and it starts at 9:30 a.m. and it ends today at 1:30 p.m. The number of volunteers needed can also be specified here. We can say that there needs to be 8. The next thing that needs to be specified is the event meeting location. For this, we'll put 11 Distributor Road. The next thing that needs to be specified is the event organizer. After that, we need to assign the managing group. So we'll say Boy Scout Troop 103 again. And then we need to display the event contact information. So we will choose event organizer email only. We also don't want to allow a wait list when the registration is full, so we'll select no. We do want to send an automatic email reminder, and we will say 7 days prior to the event. We also automatically want to close the registration with, we'll say, 5 days prior. Next, we have to choose the event interest category. So for this, we will say the administrative/office. Next, we need to display the secondary interest category. And in this case, we can say none. We need to also assign a group as the associate, and we will choose none for the assigned linked event. The administrator can choose to specify any of the rest of the information. However, they do not need to because they do not contain this asterisk right here. So all of this can be used as extra information, as well as the service credit hours. So once all this information has been entered, click Submit Event Details. Down here, it tells us that the event has been successfully created. So we're going to go back to the main dashboard, and the next feature that we have here is the Search and Manage Existing Events. So we can look to see if our event was successfully submitted, and here it is. So this is a good way to search the name of the event, which is very similar to searching for a volunteer. Underneath the standard options after the event name, the user can also search for the event using a keyword and can also create a new event or project in the same way that was just pictured. Under the advanced options, they're very similar to searching for volunteers. So if you click Advanced Search Options, it gives us a lot of options to be able to search an event. So first, if we want to search for the event by its type, for example, we can click Normal. Now if we come down to the bottom, we can search the event database. So these are all the events that are considered normal events that are in the event database. At the bottom of the screen here, we have all the events listed in the event database. This is a list of all the events that have been added. We can also view the events in an event calendar. The event calendar lists all the events that have been created that are in the list, and it shows it in calendar form. So we can look at, we'll say, May 2016. These are all the events that have been created in May 2016, and if you move your cursor over, it gives a few more details. The next feature under the Event and Project Management tab is Review Open Service Project Applications. Under here, we see all the service project applications listed here. So all the way to the left, we have the application date, the requester name, the service project requested, and the organizer name, as well as notes included all the way over to the right. If we click this box, there's 3 options to take. We can either approve the application, disapprove the application, or manage selected volunteers. So we're going to approve the application. Up here, it's given a message that we have successfully approved the application, and the person's name is no longer included in the list. The service software also allows the user to create reservations. So if we click on Reservation Management, the first piece of information that we need to enter is a code. This code can be made up and can be anything that the user desires. The next is the reservation description, which can be added here, as well as the reservation contact, which can be searched in the volunteer database. Once this is created, we're going to click Create Reservation. At the bottom of the screen, we have the reservation management listing. This is all the reservations that have been made, and there are several options here that can be taken. So if we click this gray box to the left, we can either decide to manage selected reservation, update selected reservation, or delete the selected reservation. So if we click Manage Selected Reservation, there's several more options that we can take. So if we click here on this bottom arrow, we can choose to assign it any of the names that have already been entered. So we can choose Restore. We also can choose the number of slots to reserve. We'll say 4. Then we can select Assign Event to Registration. Here it gives us a message that says the event was assigned successfully. At the bottom, we also have a list of the event registration assignments. The last feature under the Event and Project Management tab is the Event and Project Sign-In Console. So if we click on the link, it gives us the option to either use sign-in mode or administration mode. We're going to choose administration mode. At the top, there's a search bar to search for the volunteer that is volunteering at the moment. Over here, we have the time, and down here, we have a list of all the volunteers that are currently signed in. Once the volunteers want to sign out, we can sign them out for them, or we can also cancel their sign-in. The next set of features that is offered by Cervis Technologies is the attribute management features. The first feature under this category is the interest category inventory management. So if we click on the link, it brings up this screen where we can add an interest category. The interest category name can be entered here in the first line, and an interest category contact can be added right here as well. The parent category can be selected by selecting this down arrow. Lastly, the interest category selectability can be enabled by hitting Enable. Once this has all been entered, we can click to add an interest category. At the bottom of the screen here, there's a list of the category interests. On the left, we can select the circle to see more information about the certain interest. So in this case, we will choose youth programs. So if we select youth programs, we can go down to the bottom and we can either remove the selected category, update the selected category, or show volunteers with the selected interest. So if we click update the selected category, we will receive a screen that looks like this, and we can update all the information. If we want to show the volunteers with selected interest, we can click that, and it will give us a list of everyone that has the interest in this category. At the top, there are several actions that can be taken, which include sending an email, addressing labels, creating name tags, creating PDF or spreadsheet files, as well as bulk updating and registering the volunteers. Underneath the Actions category contains 4 icons for each interest. All the way to the left, we have the Enabled icon, the Full Search icon, the Only Search icon, and the Null Search icon. Simply by clicking on these, we can obtain a list of volunteers that have these interests. The next feature of Cervis is called the skill inventory management. If we click on the link, it brings up a page where we can add a skill, simply by adding a skill code, a skill name, and a skill description, and then clicking Add Skill. If you add the skill, it will be added to the skill inventory, which is shown below. Simply by clicking on the box, there are 3 actions that we can take. The first is to remove the selected skill. The second is to update the selected skill, which will give us this window to update the description and the name. And lastly, we can show volunteers with the selected skill. So if we click on this, a list appears with all the volunteers that have this particular skill. Underneath the actions column, there are 3 icons that can produce a full search, an only search, and a null search. So if we would like to, we can click on any one of these icons. We will pick volunteers that know French. So here is a list of all the volunteers that know French and all of their contact information. Cervis also has a feature called Equipment Inventory Management. Here we can create an equipment code and an equipment name and add equipment. Down here is a list of equipment, and there are 3 actions that can be taken. We can either remove selected equipment, update the selected equipment, or show volunteers with the selected equipment, which is very similar to the last feature. The availability inventory management feature is extremely similar to the equipment inventory management feature. If we click on the link, it brings up a very similar screen to the last one. Please enter an availability code, availability name, and availability description, and then choose Add Availability. Down here we have the availability that has been filled out by the volunteers. Simply click Show Volunteers with Selected Ability once you've checked off one of these boxes. So to start, we'll start off with Monday. This shows all the volunteers that are available to work on Monday. Under the Actions tab, this contains 3 icons: the full search, the only search, and the null search, which are very similar to the icons that were discussed in earlier features. So if we'd like to search for volunteers that are available on Friday, we can click, and this shows all the volunteers that are available on Friday with their contact information. The group management feature is another very helpful feature under the attribute management tab. So if we click on the link, it gives us standard options and advanced options to search for the group name in the database. It gives us options to search by group name, group leader, or we can add a new group. Under the advanced options, we can find all groups or find my groups simply by clicking on the circle. Down here we have the group inventory, which is a list of all the groups that have been added. We can either choose to update the selected group, manage the selected group, show the members, show the leaders, or remove the selected group. So to perform one of these actions, we simply click here, and we'd like to show the members of the group. This brings up a detailed list of all the members that are in this group. Underneath the action column, there are 5 icons that appear next to each group name. The first is to manage that group. The second is to register the group. And the third is to create a full search, an only search, and then a null search, which have already been discussed. So for example, we can choose to register this group for an event. Up here, we need to specify details about the group. First, we have the group name, the event name and date, and the number of participants, as well as a registration note. Once all this information has been filled out, we can choose to register the Boy Scout troop for this event. The last 2 features under the Attribute Management tab are very similar. The first is to require verification of volunteer information. So if we click the link, it brings up a screen with a red paragraph warning us. So if we would like to proceed with the request, we press here, and if we would not, we can click this button. So we'd like to proceed with the request to require the volunteer verification, and up here it tells us that it was successful. The last feature in the Attribute Management tab is the Reset Liability Waiver release status. If we click this, it's very similar to the last feature, and we can click yes, we'd like to proceed with the reset, and it tells us that it was successful. The last set of features for Cervis is called the System Management tab. Underneath the System Management tab, we have several options, and the first is to change your password. Once we click this, we're given the option to create a new password and confirm the new password. If these passwords match up and they pass the strength test, we can choose to change your password. If the user would like to edit any of the program, choose the Edit System Configuration link. Here we can edit anything on the program that we wish to. So if we click the down arrow, we can edit any of this information here. And once this has been updated, we click Update Configuration. We can update anything from organization information, system settings, security and privacy, information collection, and many more. To import data to the system using a file, click on Volunteer Data Import. This page contains several steps to importing the data. Once the steps have been followed, we need to specify each of these categories. Next, we need to choose a file and then click Import Data into Cervis. All the files that have been uploaded or added to the system will be under the File Management link. So click on this link and this screen will appear. We can either choose a file to upload, or we can look at the files that are already uploaded. So if we'd like to choose a file, click here, navigate through your documents, and then upload a new file attachment. Down here we have a list of the files that are currently managed. By clicking the box, we can choose to open the selected attachment or remove the selected attachment. Cervis offers a very useful customer support tool. So if we click on the link, it will bring us to a new page. On this page, we have official Cervis support, which contains various documents of how to use all of the features on Cervis. At the bottom of the page, there includes many documents on feature requests as well. The next feature under the System Management tab is the View System Log. Click on the link and it will bring you to a list of the successful logins by the volunteers. Also at the top, you can search in the search bar for any of the successful logins. The last feature of the Cervis software is the Cervis User Manual. Click on this link and it will launch a new window to the table of contents of the user manuals. Each tab has their own set of user manuals. All the user manuals are included in this list here. Also refer to the knowledge base and forums if you have any additional questions. Also in the right hand corner, it includes Cervis's contact information. Thank you for listening to this how-to guide for Cervis Technologies.